Record. Here we go. It's called Fortunately the Milk by Neil Gaiman, and I know that's backwards for you. All right. This is, I'll read the little blurb. A delightful tale. I bought the milk, said my father. I walked out of the corner shop and heard a noise like this. Boom. I looked up and saw a huge silver disc hovering in the air above Marshall Road. Let's see what happens next. All right. This has lots of pictures in it, too. Illustrated by Scotty Young. There was only orange juice in the fridge. Nothing else that you could put on cereal, unless you think that ketchup or mayonnaise or pickle juice would be nice on your Tostios, which I do not, and neither did my little sister, although she has eaten some pretty weird things in her day, like mushrooms in chocolate. She did not actually like eating them, and I had not actually told her that there were mushrooms inside the chocolate. It was an experiment. No milk, said my sister. Nope, I said, looking behind the jam in the fridge, just in case. None at all. Our mom had gone off to a conference. Oh, by the way, Neil Gaiman is British, so there's some British words in here like mum instead of mom. She was presenting a paper on lizards. Before she went, she reminded us of the important things that had to happen while she was away. My dad was reading the paper. I do not think he pays a lot of attention to the world while he is reading his paper. Did you hear me? Asked my mom, who was suspicious. What did I say? Do not forget to take the kids to orchestra practice on Saturday. It's violin on Wednesday night. You've frozen a dinner for each night you're away and labeled them. The spare house key is with the Nicholsons. The plumber will be here on Monday morning, and do not use or flush the upstairs toilet until he's been. Feed the goldfish. You love us, and you'll be back on Thursday, said my father. I think my mom was surprised. Yes, that's right, she said. She kissed us all. Then she said, oh, and we're almost out of milk. You'll need to pick some up. Guessing Mum is a scientist, a lizard scientist. After she went away, my dad had a cup of tea. There was still some milk left. We defrosted meal number 1, but we made a bit of a mess of things, so we went to the Indian restaurant. I remember when we could go to restaurants. Before we went to sleep, Dad made us mugs of hot chocolate to make up for the whole missing of Mum. That was last night. These are pretty funny pictures. Now Dad came in. Eat your cereal, he said. Remember, it's orchestra practice this afternoon. We can't eat our cereal, said my sister sadly. I don't see why not. Oh, there's Caden. Let him in. I don't see why not, said my father. We've got plenty of cereal. There's Tostios and there's muesli. We have bowls. We have spoons. Spoons are excellent, sort of like forks, only not as stabby. No milk, I said. No milk, said my sister. I watched my dad think about this. He looked like he was going to suggest that we have something for breakfast that you do not need milk for, like sausages. But then he looked like he remembered that without milk, he couldn't have his tea. He had his no tea face. They're very popular. They're very fond of tea in England. You poor children, he said. I will walk down to the shop on the corner. I will get milk. Thank you, said my sister. Not the fat-free kind, I told him. That stuff tastes like water. Right, said my dad. Not the fat-free kind. He went out. I poured some Tostios into a bowl. I stared at them. I waited. Picture. Oop, you see it? See the whole thing? It's a whole page picture. How long has he been? Asked my sister. Ages, I said. I thought so, said my little sister. We drank orange juice. My sister practiced her violin. I suggested that she stop playing her violin, and she did. My sister made faces at me. How long has it been now? She asked. Ages and ages, I told her. What happens if he never comes back? She asked. I suppose we eat the pickles, I said. You can't eat pickles for breakfast, said my sister, and I don't like pickles at any time. What if something awful has happened to him? Mum would blame us. I expect he just ran into one of his friends at the corner shop, I said, and they got talking and he lost track of time. I ate a dry Toastio as an experiment. It was sort of okay, but not as good as in milk. There was a thump and a bang at the front door, and my father came in. Where have you been all this time? Asked my sister. Ah, said my father. Yes, well, funny you should ask me that. You ran into someone you know, I said, and you lost track of time. I bought the milk, said my father, and I did indeed say a brief hello to Mr. Ronson from over the road who was buying a paper. I walked out of the corner shop, and I heard something odd that seemed to be coming from above me. It was a noise like this. Thum, thum. I looked up, and I saw a huge silver disc hovering in the air above Marshall Road. Hello, I said to myself. That's not something you see every day. And then something odd happened. That wasn't odd, I asked. Well, something odder, said my father. Toastio's picture. The odd thing was the beam of light that came out of the disc. A glittery, shimmery beam of light that was visible even in the daylight. And the next thing I knew, I was being sucked up into the disc. Fortunately, I had put the milk into my coat pocket. The deck of the disc was metal. It was as big as a playing field, or bigger. What do you think it is? We have come to your planet from a world very far away, said the people in the disc. I call them people, but they were a bit green and rather globby, and they looked very grumpy indeed. Oh, Millie's not happy. Now, as a representative of your species, we demand that you give us ownership of the whole planet. We are going to remodel it. I jolly well won't, I said. Then, it said, we will bring all your enemies here and have them make you as miserable until you agree to sign the planet over to us. Stop your video, Nathan. I was going to point out to them that I didn't have any enemies when I noticed a large metal door with emergency exit. Do not open for any reason. This means you on it. I opened the door. Don't do that, said a green globby person. You'll let in the space-time continuum. But it was too late. I had already pushed open the door. I jumped. Remember, this is the dad talking, not the narrator. There's that door. There's the globby people. And there's Dad. I was falling. Fortunately, I had kept tight hold of the milk, so when I splashed into the sea, I didn't lose it. What was that? Said a woman's voice. A big fish? A mermaid? Or was it a spy? I wanted to say that I wasn't any of those things, but my mouth was full of seawater. I felt myself being hauled up onto the deck of a little ship. There were a number of men and women on the deck, and they all looked very cross. Who be ye, landlubber? Said the woman, who had a big hat on her head and a parrot on her shoulder. He's a spy, a walrus in a coat, a new kind of mermaid with legs, said the men. What are you doing here? Asked the woman. Well, I said, I had just set out to the corner shop for some milk, for my children's breakfast, and for my tea, and the next thing I knew, he's lying, your majesty. She pulled out her cutlass. You dare lie to the Queen of Pirates. Fortunately, I had kept tight hold of the milk, and now I pointed to it. If I did not go to the corner shop to fetch the milk, I asked them, then where did this milk come from? At this, the pirates were completely speechless. Now, I said, if you could let me off somewhere near to my destination, I would be much obliged to you. There's Dad falling. There's waves. And where would that happen to be? Said the Queen of the Pirates. Yep, looks like a pirate. On the corner of Marshall Road and Fletcher Lane, I said. My children are waiting there for their breakfast. You're on a pirate ship now, my fine bucko, said the Pirate Queen. And you don't get dropped off anywhere. There are only two choices. You can join my pirate crew, or refuse to join and we will slit your cowardly throat, and you will go to the bottom of the sea where you will feed the fishes. What about walking the plank? I asked. Never heard of it, said the pirates. Walking the plank, I said. It's what proper pirates do. Look, I'll show you. Do you have a plank anywhere? It took some looking, but we found a plank, and I showed the pirates where to put it. We discussed nailing it down, but the Pirate Queen decided it was safer just to have the two fattest pirates sit on the end of it. Why exactly do you want to walk the plank? Asked the Pirate Queen. I edged out onto the plank. The blue Caribbean waters splashed gently beneath me. Well, I said, I've seen lots of stories with pirates in them, and it seems to me that if I'm going to be rescued. At this, the pirates started to laugh so hard their stomachs wobbled, and the pirate took off into the air as in amazement. Rescue? They said. There's no rescue out here. We're in the middle of the sea. Nevertheless, I told them, if you are going to be rescued, it will always be while walking the plank. Which we don't do, said the Pirate Queen. Here, have a Spanish doubloon and come and join us in our piratical adventures. It's the 18th century, she added, and there's always room for a bright, enthusiastic pirate. 18th century, that would be the 1700s, which is about 300 years ago. So, time traveling. I caught the doubloon. I almost wish that I could, I told her, but I have children and they need their breakfast. Then you must die. Walk the plank. I edged out to the end of the plank. Sharks were circling. So were piranhas. It's weird, piranhas are a river fish. And this was where I interrupted my dad for the first time. Hang on, I said. Piranhas are a freshwater fish. Oh, see? What were they doing in the sea? Piranhas. You're right, said my father. The piranhas were later. Right. So, I was out at the end of the plank, facing certain death, when a rope ladder hit my shoulder, and a deep, booming voice shouted, Quickly, climb up the rope ladder. There he is on the plank. There's a big shark. And there's Jameson. I needed no more encouragement than this, and I grabbed the rope ladder with both hands. Fortunately, the milk was pushed deep into the pocket of my coat. The pirates hurled insults at me and even discharged pistols, but neither insults nor pistol shot found their targets. Shh, Jameson, I'm eating. And I soon made it to the top of the rope ladder. I'd never been in the basket of a hot air balloon before. It was very peaceful up there. The person in the balloon basket said, I hope you don't mind me helping, but it looked like you were having problems down there. I said, You're a stegosaurus. I am an inventor, he said. I have invented the thing we are traveling in, which I call Professor Stegg's floaty ball person carrier. I call it a balloon, I said. Professor Stegg's floaty ball person carrier is the original name, he said. And right now we are 150 million years in the future. Actually, I said, we are about 300 years in the past. Do you like hard, hairy, wet, white crunchers? He asked. Coconuts, I guessed. I named the first, said Professor Stegg. He picked up a coconut from a basket and ate it, shell and all, just as you or I might crunch toast. He showed me his time machine. He was very proud of it. It was a large cardboard box with several pebbles on it and stones stuck to the side. There was also a large red button. I looked at the stones. Hang on, I said. Those are diamonds and sapphires and rubies. There's Father. There's Professor Stegg's arm and the coconuts, otherwise known as a hard, hairy, wet, white cruncher. Actually, he said, I call them special shiny clear stones, special shiny bluey stones, and special shiny red stones, I suggested. Indeed, he said. I called them that when I was inventing my really good moves around in time machine 150 million years ago. Well, I told him, It was very lucky for me that you turned up when you did and rescued me. I am slightly lost in space and time right now, and I need to get home in order to make sure my children get the milk for their breakfast. I showed it to him. This is the milk. Although I expect that 150 million years ago you called it wet, white, drinky stuff. Dinosaurs are reptiles, sir, said Professor Stegg. We do not go in for milk. Do you go in for breakfast cereal? I asked. Of course, he said. Dinosaurs love breakfast cereal, especially the kind with nuts in. What do you have on your cereal? I asked. Orange juice mostly, or we just eat it dry. But I shall put this in my book. In the distant future, small mammals put milk on the breakfast cereal. I shall write a wonderful book when I return to the present. Actually, I said, I think this is definitely the past. It has pirates in it. It's the future, he said. There you go. There's his time machine. And there he is. Can you see him? All right, I'm going to stop there for today. Ooh, it's exciting.